United States of America
and to the republic
for which
for
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
With liberty and justice for all.
There we go.
Not bad. We have no communications. As this is a special meeting, we won't add anything to the agenda. Item 6, the superintendent's reports. Mr. Hopkins?
Thank you, Miss Evelyn. A little bit interesting this evening with our first video teleconference meeting. And what I wanted to do for my remarks this evening is to provide an update on our current school closure, what's taken place up to this point, and some next steps moving forward. First, a huge thank you is in order to our teachers, support staff, and administrators for all they have done to provide learning opportunities for our students, prepare and serve meals each day, clean and disinfect our buildings, and step in and provide assistance with any area where help was needed. Team Woodford has definitely been on display this week. Our teachers had already prepared for the first 10 days of NTI work and are now working to complete days 11 through 20. So there will be no interruption in services after we return from the scheduled spring break. We have been told to be ready for up to 30 days of NTI instruction, so our staff will need to begin that preparation soon after spring break. With our technology resources, there are some creative tools and ideas being utilized to connect with students, and those will only grow in the coming days. This week, we also will be deploying over 450 Chromebooks to elementary students who do not have access to a device at home to eliminate any barrier to participating in these activities with their teachers and classmates. Last week, our food service staff served nearly 4,000 meals. New guidance was received today, which will alter our delivery mechanism beginning on Wednesday. We do plan on serving meals during spring break. However, our drive-through service will be limited during spring break, and we will also have to make adjustments moving forward to potentially specific locations throughout the county for meal pickup. Our classified employees have been offered multiple options for working during the NTI days, and our certified employees are following our NTI protocol that has been in place since we initially began the program a few years ago. There is a possibility of legislation that will grant additional leave days for our staff members, but that has not been finalized yet. Any person working in the buildings has been asked to follow the social distancing recommendations along with the best practices for personal hygiene. Employees who can telecommute are doing so. Middle school and high school students are completing most of their assignments electronically, so there is no need to schedule a drop-off of work or a pickup of new assignments. Our elementary schools, though, do have this need. So that schedule is set for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, and that has been communicated to parents. This will also be the time when our Chromebooks are distributed. Our technology department has established a help desk at Woodford County High School to assist any student or staff member with technology issues. It is open each day from 8 to 3. End of year events are all uncertain at this time. All will be dependent on 3 things. 1, if we are back in school. 2, if there are any restrictions that are still in place. And 3, any recommendations from the governor and from our state health officials. As you can see, this is a very complex and fluid situation. We are looking at our operations and plans every day in order to make any needed adjustments. But I am so proud of everyone in our school district for all they have done and continue to do to make this extraordinary time go as smoothly as possible.
Thank you, Scott. The next on the agenda is our treasurer's report. Approve the February financial report. Do you Have a motion to approve the report.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
By Sherry?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Wilson and a second by Ms. Springate. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Or I was going to call roll. Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Richardson?
Aye.
Ms. Springate?
Aye.
The board votes aye. The motion passes 5-0. Next, we have the consent agenda. Does any member want to have any of the matters under the consent agenda removed? Having heard,
I move we approve the consent agenda.
motion by Mr. Wilson to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Bradley. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Or
Aye.
Ms. Bradley, I'm sorry, I'm
Aye.
not calling girls. Ms. Richardson,
Aye.
Ms. Springate,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The consent agenda passes 5-0. Next, we move to the regular agenda action items. I would like to say before we begin this that at the request and suggestion of the superintendent and in consultation with him and our attorney, I move that we table the following regular agenda items. Item E, authorize district staff to seek appraisal of district-owned property between Southside and Huntertown. Item G, preschool classroom changes. Item H, preschool tuition forms, no longer accepting 3-year-old tuition students. Item I, explore time company fee forms, increase in fees and minimum number of 3 days a week for part-time status. Item L, rescind BG1 for New Woodford County High School BG 19353. Item M, recommendation to unrestrict funds. Item N, SWOT analysis for all high school funding options. Item O, develop the written plan for all high school funding options. Item P, set the next forum date. Item Q, creation of lead team to research and provide recommendations for high school funding options. Again, I'm making this motion at the request of the superintendent and in consultation with him. Do I have a second on this motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Richardson?
Aye.
Ms. Springate?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so those motions will be tabled on a vote of 5-0. All right, Mr. Hawkins, do you want to go ahead and lead us through the remaining items on the regular agenda, please?
I would be happy to. Item A on the regular agenda, we would ask for the board to accept notification of personnel matters that have taken place since our last board meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Who was the second?
Allison.
Second by Ms. Richardson. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Wilson, your vote.
Aye.
Ms. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Richardson?
Aye.
Ms. Springate?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Item B, we would ask the board to accept the notification of payment of bills.
So moved.
There's a motion by Mr. Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
By Springate? Second by Ms.
Yes.
Springate. We'll vote. Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Richardson?
Aye.
Ms. Springate?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Item C, we'd ask the board to approve the board minutes from the February 6th, February 18th, and February 24th board meetings. All were present.
So moved.
The motion by Mr. Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Springate?
Richardson.
Ms. Richardson? Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Richardson,
Aye.
Ms. Springate,
Aye.
chair votes aye, motion passes 5-0.
All right, item D is to approve the minutes from the March 3rd board meeting. Ms. Richardson, you will have to step aside on this one.
So
Okay.
moved. So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second by Sherry.
second by Ms. Springate. Any discussion? We'll vote. Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
Bradley,
Aye.
Springate,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The motion passes 4-0.
All right, item F is to authorize the board treasurer to contract with Infinite Campus and Banco Payment Solutions to offer payments, to offer online options for parents and/or students to pay school fees with EFT, credit, or debit cards.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. Springate. Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Mr. Wilson,
Yes, aye.
Ms. Bradley,
Aye.
Ms. Richardson,
Aye.
Ms. Springate.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Item J is the, we would ask the board to approve the BG4 for the Southside Cafeteria Kitchen Edition, BG 18-329.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
a second by Ms. Bradley. Any discussion? We'll vote. Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
Ms. Bradley,
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Richardson,
Aye.
Ms. Springate.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes 5-0.
All right, item K is the BG5, the District Security Improvement Project. And we did get that document in this afternoon from KDE.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Wilson,
Second.
second by Ms. Springate. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Discussion. We'll vote. Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
Ms. Bradley,
Aye.
Ms. Richardson. Aye. Ms. Springate.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, on item R, our current board policy 03.28 evaluation sets an April 1st deadline for the finished evaluations for all classified staff. And given the fact that we are not in school at this point in time, we are asking the board to do two things. Number one, to declare this an emergency, which would allow the board to take action with only one reading. And the second action would be to waive the policy 3.28 evaluation due to the circumstances that we are facing across our state.
So moved.
I'm sorry, do we need two motions, Scott?
Yes, one is to declare it an emergency, and then the second would be to waive the policy.
Okay, do we have a motion to just declare this an emergency?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Wilson, a second by Ms. Springate, I believe.
Yes.
Okay,
And just to be clear, the reason that we are declaring an emergency is it allows the board to do this in only one reading as opposed to two.
okay. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? All right, we'll vote. Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
Ms. Bradley,
Aye.
Ms. Richardson. Aye. Ms. Springate.
Aye.
The board vote, or the chair votes aye. The motion to declare this an emergency passes 5-0.
Madam Chairman, I move that we waive the policy as currently written.
Policy 3.28, waiver. Okay, we have a motion to waive policy 3.28 evaluation. Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Springate?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Wilson, a second by Ms. Springate. Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Mr. Wilson,
Aye.
Bradley,
Aye.
Ms. Richardson,
Aye.
Ms. Springate.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right. I don't believe there's any old business. There's one thing under discussion item, school closure update by Mr. Hawkins.
I pretty well went through that with my opening remarks, but I'll be happy to answer any questions or try to address any other issues.
I have a question about what you said. So how is the delivery changing of the meals? I wasn't clear on that.
Well,
So
we,
we're driving.
we're actually going to be finalizing some additional plans tomorrow, but there's been some new guidance out from the health department that is going to require some additional restrictions. And so what we are looking to transition to, we would still have drive-through locations at our schools, but instead of actually going to maybe individual homes, that we would go to specific sites in the community that are close to those areas that would still allow for pickup. And so we believe that is going to be the best way for us to meet those new guidelines. But also, as we look at potentially doing this for an additional 4 to 5 weeks, it's probably our best plan moving forward as well. So again, things change almost daily in terms of some of the restrictions and some of the other things that we have to face. And so we will still do the home deliveries tomorrow, and we're going to be communicating with folks that we're going to be changing things starting on Wednesday. But Courtney Quire, our food service coordinator, has been working with Kay Penn, our transportation director, to come up with routes and locations, and we're actually going to start utilizing our buses, I think, for some of that, to really note then this is a drop-off place where we're going to allow families to come and pick up meals.
So the bus itself might be the drop-off? Like you could just drive the bus somewhere?
Yes, and then we would have all of the meals loaded on the buses, and then we would park in a location, be able to hand those out for a period of time, and then move to the next location.
Okay, great. So we don't have to secure other facilities then?
No.
That's great. Okay. That I just wanted to be clear on that. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I had a question. I went to Northside last week and watched our staff pass out meals, and it was great to see it. The children come up and get their meals, and 4,000 meals that's tremendous effort, and I'm so glad that we're able to do that. On spring break, what are we going to do there?
We are looking, just because we're going to have some limited staff due to the break already being scheduled, we are going to have one drive-through location at Simmons. Depending on what staff we have available, we will also try to utilize some other locations for pickup throughout the county, but some of that will be dependent on staff that we have, again, to try to meet as many needs as we can.
Do you need to ask for volunteers, or what do you need? Because I believe people in Midway, Millville, Nonsuch, Mortonsville might have a hard time getting to Simmons.
And I understand that, and there are certain restrictions on the being able to hand out the meals in terms of we're not going to be allowed to hand them directly to people anymore. So we're going to have to do the 6 feet of space. So we're going to have tables set up where we can place a meal down. Person can step away. The other person has to come up and pick up the meal. I mean, there's masks are going to need to be required now, in addition to the gloves that we've been utilizing. So it's just getting a lot more complicated. And if you don't have some staff who are accustomed to doing that. I'm not saying others can't do it, but with those restrictions, we are certainly happy to have volunteers. But again, there's just going to be some additional conditions and restrictions that we have to follow going forward.
But if we, like if I went to Simmons and got meals and brought them to Northside, if Allison went to Simmons and took them to Mortonsville or Nunsuch, would that be accurate? You know, if we did the proper technique and the proper distancing, etc.
I don't see any reason that wouldn't work.
Okay. But there is a possibility you may have employees that want to do it.
That is a possibility. Again, we don't know just yet how many are going to want to work during spring break, because those are not normal contracted days for any of our school year employees.
Well, I would volunteer to do it for Midway if you can't find anybody.
I would help as well.
And
Amber, that help as well.
a number of people have reached out and offered. I think the community really wants to get involved, and this is something that they feel like is an opportunity to help.
I absolutely agree.
All right, thank you.
So if an employee, I'm not sure how we're, managing our classified staff particularly. So if an employee wanted to work through spring break and then maybe, take off later, is that available to
Yes.
just kind of switch out?
Yes,
Okay.
that is an option that we are making available to folks.
Okay, good. Are there any other questions of Mr. Hawkins?
Yeah,
Yep.
I had a question. If one of our, I think the policy is now that classified can take leave, but once leave has been exhausted for our classified and they have no more leave, what are the next step there, Scott?
We've provided them options to do some online trainings that would count as work days. We've offered them to be able to work in the summer once the school year is out. So they do have multiple options to be able to assist. And again, we can always use help with meal deliveries. So there are some things we've allowed them. For example, instructional assistants, they could call students from their home to be able to check in on kids. So I think we've provided a number of options for them to be able to continue to work if they so choose.
How many hours do they have to miss to have a negative impact on their insurance, etc., benefits?
As long as they have one paid work day during a 2-week window, it doesn't impact their insurance.
Okay.
Say that again, I'm sorry, Scott.
If they have one paid work day during each 2-week pay period, then it does not impact their health insurance.
Okay. And so far, there have been enough opportunities to offer all of our classified staff their normal work hours and pay?
All of our classified staff have those opportunities. Some have elected not to work, and that has been their choice.
Are they, for the most part, electing not to work because they're concerned about, interacting, or?
I don't know that about each one. We do have some that are in the high-risk category, and we certainly are working with them to be able to do some things from home. And so, that will continue to be in place. But, if a person decides that I'm not going to come in or I'm not going to take advantage of these options, then we really don't have a choice, but those would be days without pay.
Are all our buildings open during the day, Scott?
Yes, they have been open during the day.
What about our school resource officers? Are they working?
Yes.
But if it got to the point to where we couldn't use the buildings, and you would offer telecommuting to those folks that it would be appropriate?
And we've done that already.
Okay.
So, Scott, is
the policy that wouldn't allow us to pay them, is that a Woodford County policy or a statewide policy?
Well, you can only pay people for services rendered. And so if they have chosen not to work, I mean, it's just like during the school year. If they exhaust all their sick leave and all their emergency leave and their personal leave and they miss a day, that's a day without pay. And so that's the situation that we are in. Now, we're trying to work with folks and again, provide multiple options on things they can do either from home and again, part of this, we've just opened up or will be opening up this week some online training opportunities that they can do that from home as well.
Scott, on the NTI information, we know what is the status of the first 10 days or however many it's been, like have 70% completed everything, 10% half, 20% none. Are we monitoring all that to how does that work?
We do, but part of it is that there's always a few days lag because assignments are not due. For example, the middle school assignment's done on Monday, it's not due until Wednesday at midnight. And then teachers have so many days to input that. So we're just now getting to the point where day one would be entered into the grade book. So yes, we do have a schedule for particularly middle school and high school right now. Elementaries will be dropping off their work this week and picking up new work. And then we have a calendar then for our staff then to get that graded and get that turned into Infinite Campus.
My last question. You said we're delivering 450 Chromebooks, but we can't. But when we have food, we can't be within 6 feet of the student when they pick up. How in the world are we going to deliver 450?
Well, we're going to do that, and we'll have to follow that same guideline on the drop off of homework and Chromebooks as we do with meals.
Okay. Who delivers to all of these people?
Well, we've been having staff do it right now.
Can I ask, do we have 450 kids in our district who don't take Chromebooks home?
These are elementary.
Okay, and when they pick up their NTI work packets, if they pick up a paper packet, do we have a policy in place for that? How are they picking those up if we have the 6 foot?
We're going to be following that same guideline.
Okay.
We actually just found out about that today, so we're meeting through a Google Hangout with our principals tomorrow to explain all that to them.
Do we need to work together to maybe set up a task force of people who can deliver Chromebooks or NTI work? Is that something that we need to look at?
Well, the plan is for Wednesday and Thursday that most of the drop-off and pickup would take place, and Friday then is the catch-all day to try to then, if we need to take things out, then we can take things out at that point in time. But I think we've got all of our, each one of our elementary principals is developing their own plan for how that's going to occur at each one of their buildings.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Scott, you and Bob are going to work with the parents of these elementary kids to make sure they have Wi-Fi, internet, all of that?
Well, Spectrum right now is offering free 60-day internet, and we have advertised that to all of our families to make them aware so that they can sign up for that service. We do not have enough MiFi devices to send to that many homes, and there's no way for us to be able to do that at this point in time. So we have made sure that they have that information on Spectrum so that they can sign up for that.
And when you say grade school, what ages are going to get these Chromebooks?
K through 5.
Okay, I think I'm on. Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
I have a couple questions, it's Debbie. With the Wi-Fi and Spectrum, I assume that we have our Spanish, Carmen or others helping people understand that and advertise that and
Yes,
reaching out to, so that they understand all of those possibilities and opportunities.
yes.
Okay. And then when you talk about supplies, like we've been using gloves and now you feel we need to use masks, do we have those? I know there's been a lot of shortages of those across the country. Are we having trouble with that? Is that something we need to be reaching out, trying to?
No, I mean, we do have a certain supply of masks, and we had ordered gloves. Kelly Simpson, our health coordinator, had ordered gloves, so we've delivered those to the schools already.
So you feel like we're in good shape with those protective supplies?
For right now,
Yeah, so, yeah, that's a problem. And then finally, and I know, end of year testing, AP tests, things like that, do we know anything of what's gonna happen with, COSA testing and, or is that just not being addressed?
KDE has applied for a waiver. They expected to hear by the end of the day today on our state testing that would be waived this year. What we've been made aware of so far for AP testing is that students would do that at home online.
Okay, so there's still have that opportunity, and then all those COSA tests too, or?
Those are all part of state testing because it's part of your college and career readiness, that those would be waived.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions of Mr. Hawkins?
Yeah.
Sherry.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate how prepared Woodford County Schools has been and the services that we've been able to offer. It always feels like you and your staff go above and beyond, and I'm really proud to be a Woodford County resident with all the wonderful things that you all are able to do and really think ahead and just try to accommodate our staff, our parents, and our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with Ms. Springate completely. I wanted to thank all of you for all of the extra hours and creative responses and everything you've done to get food to our students and get their instructional content to them. The teachers have gone above and beyond, and we are very blessed to have such hardworking people in Woodford County, and I hope that we can continue to find ways to make sure that people have the paychecks that they need to support their families. The only other question I have is, do we have any updated information on any of the field trip refunds, kind of staying in the same vein of people needing income where we can get it?
I know that the schools have been working on some options, and they have been communicating with those parent groups. I know Mr. Bruno has been working with the 8th grade parents on that trip. Dr. Surgeon and Mr. Arnold have been working with the juniors who were scheduled to go to DC on an option for this fall. I don't know where we are on the New York City one because that one, I mean, we're kind of at the mercy on what we can get back. But I know that they have been working with those groups on being able to try to secure as much of a refund as possible.
Thank you. And again, my thanks for all of your hard work. I'm very grateful.
Scott, is there anything that any of us can do to help you or your staff?
I think the biggest challenge, I think, moving forward will be with the feeding program, because I do think we're looking at an extended time away from school. That's just going to continue to be challenged. Courtney was telling us earlier today that she's placing food orders, but not all of them are being filled. And so, it's just the reality. I mean, you've got how many school districts trying to do what we're doing, and we all order from the same company. And so, there's going to be challenges with that as we move forward. We're going to continue to try to be creative and find solutions. That's what our folks have done up to this point, and that's what we'll continue to do. But I see that probably being the greatest challenge as we move forward, and particularly if it gets even more restricted, because I don't know that we've seen the end of all restrictions at this point in time, because it seems like some new ones get added each day, and I'm not saying that they're not the right thing for us to be doing, but I think those are things that we all have to keep in mind.
So for people who are interested in volunteering, do you want them to reach out to Courtney or to you? What would your preference be?
Well, Scott, you need it.
Yeah, it may be something where we need to maybe send something out as to how we want to coordinate that. Because again, I think we've done pretty well up to this point, but things change each day. And so we will do our best to communicate what those needs are.
Do you know what our food supply is, how many days we could go without more?
I think we're still okay right now, at least according to Courtney. But again, you're always trying to place orders to stay ahead. And so we'll just have to keep you updated on that.
But you said,
Scott, this is Allison. Are we currently feeding more people with this feeding program than we typically would on a normal day?
No.
Do you see there's
No.
more of an outreach?
No, because typically we would serve several thousand meals in a day, and we're averaging probably in the 700 to 800 range per day right now. So it's significantly less, but it's a different type of prep and delivery and those kinds of things. So it makes it's more time intensive, although you're not doing as many meals. And
Right. Okay, well, if there's anything, I think that the board pretty much agrees. It sounds like that if there's anything that we can do, hands-on or, from behind the scenes, whatever, I think that we'd all be in agreement that we would help in any way that we can. I think that the board is doing a great job, the schools are, and, it's really appreciated. I've heard so many people out in the community say that they have taken advantage of these lunches. And, with the uncertainty of what's coming up for our people, I think that this is just something that really, it makes people feel like they're getting a little bit something ahead of time because they just don't know what's coming. So I just want to thank you guys and everybody who's taken part in this. It's really making a difference.
And just so you know what we've done with the breakfast, the first few days there, Spark Cafe had reached out and they had done some breakfast meals for folks in the community. Breakfast is something though we can do. And so what we've started doing is delivering, or when we hand out a lunch, we also hand out a breakfast so that they have a breakfast for the next morning. And then when they come back for lunch the next day, they get a breakfast and a lunch again. So to try again to do everything we can to provide what we can.
and that was, Scott, when I was there last Friday in Midway, I watched them do that. And I don't have the words to describe it, but it was great to watch. It really was.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. Does anyone have any more questions of
Amy.
Mr. Hawkins? I think,
She could answer their question
we're all
in
just
the
so
chat
grateful for your
about the
leadership with this,
refunds.
Scott. I know you've been following closely with the governor. Hopefully he seems,
She's on here. We could
he'll
unmute
aware
her.
of the food supply issues, things like that, and we'll all get through this together, but I can't thank you enough for your efforts on it. I want to thank Bob for helping us get together. I feel like I felt out a little bit, but maybe, I hope you can hear me. And if there's nothing else, do we have Mr. Hawkins, did you want to say anything else before we have a motion to adjourn?
No, just thank you for the kind words. We've got a tremendous staff here.
Right.
And I told somebody the other day, I think the silver lining in all of this is that we will see some very creative things
Yes.
come out of this. And that's always a good thing.
I think educationally we already have, and I think the kids may benefit, it'll be they'll never forget it,
Yep.
so. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
We have a motion to adjourn by Ms. Bradley, do we have a second?
Second.
By Ms. Richardson, any discussion? Mr. Wilson, your vote to adjourn?
He's muted right now. Ambrose, could you unmute yourself, please?
Ms. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Richardson?
Oh, he hung up.
Aye. Ms. Springate?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
He hung up on accident.
Okay. The chair votes aye, so the motion to adjourn passes 4-0. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.